Do you spend too many hours sorting through invoices, receipts, and other documentation in your Outlook inbox? Today I'm going to show you how to build an AI system that automatically classifies every document of your inbox. And it does 100% privately, so your confidential data never leaves your own systems. Now, watch what happens when the entire workflow is automated, instantly and privately. The moment this new invoice arrives, our system is notified. It securely downloads the attachment and, using a private AI model running on your own systems, it reads and understands the entire document, and your confidential financial data never leaves your control. It automatically creates a folder for the vendor and renames the file from a generic invoice.pdf to a perfectly structured date plus invoice number format. And finally, it tags the original email in Outlook, so you know it has been processed. So the entire process took less than 25 seconds, and best of all, it runs 24/7, it eliminates human error, and your company data stays 100% private. My name is Dani Fullà, and I'm the CEO of Flowhog, and in this video I'm going to show you how to build this system for your own business. On the other hand, if you would like us to integrate this system into your business and make sure it can scale to hundreds or thousands of emails, just reach out to us at flowhog.com and we'll be happy to help you. Alright, so here we have the high-level overview of the architecture that we are going to be building today. So you see the flow, we receive an email, then this email will be stored in our Outlook. And here we see the first two entities. So on one hand, we have Azure, and then we have the Microsoft Graph API. So regarding Azure, this is the cloud platform provided by Microsoft that once we register an application there and we have granted some permissions, our code will gain programmatic access to our Outlook inbox. And once this has happened, then we can use the Microsoft Graph API to access our emails and attachments of these emails within our code. Now, the most important part of the system is what you see in this red box over here. So we are going to be building a system that makes sure that our data always stays in this system. And this is very important, especially if you are building in Europe. You want to be GDPR compliant and you want to make sure that your confidential data never leaves your system. This is the way to go. So on one hand, we are going to be using Docling. That is a library for optical character recognition that will enable us to take the text of a PDF and have it in a written format. So then, once we have this text, we can then later ingest it into an LLM and perform some actions. Now, for the LLM, we're going to use Mistral, and we're going to be running this open source model using Docker. So thanks to this combination of these three elements, Docling, the library to extract the text from PDFs, the open source model provided by Mistral that we can download in our system, and then Docker, the program that we are going to use to run this LLM, we are going to make sure that our data always stays within our system. So the flow will be the following. We are going to receive an email. In our server, we are going to fetch it using this Graph API. We are going to process it. And once we have extracted the date and invoice number of these attachments, we are going to store them in our file system. Now the first thing we need to do is to create an application in Microsoft Azure and grant some permissions. And this way we'll be able to fetch our emails. So go to the Microsoft Azure portal in this URL over here. You'll have to sign up, create an account, etc. So just do it. And once you land here, go to Microsoft Entra ID. Here go to App Registrations, create new registration, just put a name for your application and select accounts in this organizational directory. Just click on register, and once you finish, if you go here to all applications, you will see your app. So click here, and now we have to do two things. First of all, create an API link to this application, and then grant some permissions to this API. In the Certificates and Secrets tab, here create a new client secret, just assign a name, and make sure to copy this value, because once you switch tabs or you close the window, you will not be able to copy again this value over here, and we'll have to paste it in our server configuration. Okay, now we have this API key, and let's assign some permissions. We have to assign 4 different permissions, and those are the ones that you see here. So just click on Add Permission and make sure to copy all of these ones. Actually, click on Microsoft Graph, Applications Permissions, and here type all of them. So context reads, mail read write, etc. All right, and now we have to grant admin consent for these permissions. Make sure to do this because otherwise the permissions will not be enabled. So click here, yes, and that's it. Now our application has all these permissions and is able to access our emails, is able to access our contact list in Outlook, and is able to assign categories to our different emails. All right, so in the code, just fetch this repo here. So this is the repo where I'm putting all the different tutorials I'm creating. So if it's the first time you are working with the repo, just click on code, click here, and go to your terminal and paste git clone, etc. In my case, I've already cloned it, so I've already have it here. And we are going to work with the folder that it's inside local AI Outlook invoice classifier. Okay, so this is the code for this project. So actually what we can do here is we can click open folder, we can select the specific folder, and this way it will be more clean. All right, so it's here. Okay, so this is the project. Let me close this. Let me open terminal. Perfect. So once you clone this project, you will see that you have this env example file. Just make sure you copy and replace the name by .env, as I've done here, and put the client secret that you have obtained from Azure. So actually it's this here, okay? Put the client secret there. For the client ID, you have to take this one over here, go to overview and take it, and you will also need the tenant ID. So you have all these values, just paste them here. Client ID, client secret, tenant ID. For the user ID of Outlook, go again to Microsoft Azure and go to Microsoft Enter ID, users, click on your user and take this ID over here. So we are going to access the inbox of this user, Danifuya Flowhog Microsoft. Okay, and again, just paste it here on the M file. So if you have done this, actually you should have all this set up. All right, so we have now the app registered in Outlook. We are able to access these Outlook emails and attachments thanks to this configuration over here. Now we need to make sure that our application is publicly available so Outlook can notify our server whenever there's a new incoming email. To do that, we will need to use Ngrok. So actually, if you go to a README file, you can see the different steps that we are following. As of now, we have already registered Azure app. Now we are in step number 2. So just make sure that, first of all, you have Ngrok installed. If you are on MacBook, you can paste this command on your terminal, and then you will have to put your auth token. So to get an auth token, go to Ngrok, register an account, and here in your auth token, just click here or on copy, and you will see it, okay? So just copy, paste it here, and again, paste this command on your terminal, and you will have your Ngrok account set up properly. In order to have a static domain, so we do not have to change the domain each time we set up Ngrok, you can go to Ngrok under domains. Here you will create a new domain, and this will be your domain. Just copy and paste it here, where it says your domain, Ngrok, blah, blah, blah. So actually we can do it here. For example, this is my domain, all right? And now just copy this and paste it on your terminal, and you will see this. So what it's doing is basically taking your port 8000 of your computer and exposing it under this URL here. So what it means now is that if someone tries to go to this URL, for example here, it will connect to your computer, okay? Here I still need to set up the server, but you get the idea. So once you have done this, just go to your env example and here replace this with, no, not this. So take this one here, okay? And just replace this first part. All right, so now we have the Outlook account, we have registered an application, and we could now programmatically access the emails. Still, what now is missing is the last part, that is the local AI part. So we need to download the Mistral AI large language model and run it with Docker, because otherwise, when we receive an email, the system will break because we are not processing anything. So let's go back to our README file. Here you have the different steps that we need to follow to have this large language model running on our PC. Just before we start, first of all, we need to have installed Docker Desktop, and also make sure that your system is at least, I would say it has 8 gigabytes of RAM. Otherwise, the model will be too large for your system. It could potentially run, but it will be very slow. So if you have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, I would say it's more than enough. Okay, so let's first install Docker Desktop. Just go to the Docker website and click on Download Docker Desktop. Once it's downloaded, just run it. You will see it here. You will see something like this. Okay. And to make sure that we can run large language models with Docker, we now have to do one extra step, that it's go to Settings, go to AI, click on Enable Docker Model Runner, select Enable Host Site TCP Support, and paste this port, 12434, okay? So with this now, we are ready to download a large language model and run it with our PC. So let's go back to our terminal. So here you would have to, restart Docker Desktop. So just make sure you close it. Let's say restart here. Let's click on restart. And actually you have two ways to download the large language model that we want to use. Either you can paste this command on your terminal and this will automatically download the large language model. Otherwise, if you want to do it from the user interface, you can go to Docker Desktop and go to Models. Here in Models, just look for go to Docker Hub inside Models. And here you have all the different models that you can download. So the one we want is Mistral. And we are going to download this one over here, this IQ2, because we don't want to download the largest model because otherwise it will be too big and it will crash. And also you don't want to choose the smallest model because maybe it's not good enough for our use case. So this is just a matter of trial and error. You have to play with different models. But here for this use case of extracting an invoice number and a date, this Mistral IQ2 performs quite well. So you can go here and click on pull. In my case, I have already downloaded. And that's it. Once you have done this, if you go to the terminal, just paste. You can check that everything is running as expected by typing Docker model status. Okay, so this is telling us that Docker is able to run our models. And if you click on Docker model list, you have to be able to see the model that you have downloaded. So if you see those two things, it means that you are properly set. All right, so now we have done all the heavy lifting. So I promise you that now everything will be way easier. And the next thing we have to do is to download all the different dependencies that our system needs. And to do this, just make sure you have UB installed on your terminal. If not, just go to your browser, type UB, let's say UB Python. So just go to the official documentation of UB. You have it here, docs astral sh. And depending on your operating system, just copy the proper command and paste it on your terminal. I will not do it because I have already downloaded. So here actually I will remove all the dependencies installed. So this way we have the same setup. Okay, so you will see something like this. Now paste this command, UB sync. All right, and now the dependencies are installed and we are ready to run our application. That's it. So actually, let's click here, UB run main. This will take some seconds. All right, so it will take some time. Once you start seeing these logs here, it means that your application is running. Now, just before starting to receive notifications from Outlook, we have to notify Outlook where it has to send the different notifications when a new email is received. We're going to create a subscription to these Outlook changes, and we can easily do this with this command. Okay, so remember, first of all, you need to have Ngrok running, and now with this, we can now create the registration. All right, so this is success. Now we are connected to Outlook, and Outlook knows that whenever a new email is received, it has to send some data to our server. So actually you can try it. I will now go to an email and I will send an invoice to my account. Okay, so I'm here in this email that I have. So it's a different one, it's not the Outlook, but this is just for testing purposes. Just make sure you paste here your address of Outlook. In my case, it's this one, Flowhog on Microsoft. Here, just put whatever subject you want, no, not required. And now I'm going to select one of these invoices that actually are inside the project that you have downloaded from GitHub. All right, and now I will send it. So now we have to go to our Outlook. Let's wait until we receive the email just sent. Okay, it's here. New invoice, blah, blah. Let's go to our code and see if something has happened. So actually, if we go to our server, you see here, you see some logs. This is the notification from Outlook, one change detected, receive Outlook webhook. Here we are printing the email. This is very interesting. It seems that not contact found for best AI agents. This is the email that I'm using. Skipping attachment. This is good news because it means that our application is properly connected to Outlook, and Outlook is notifying us in a way we want. Now we just need to perform one more action in order to make sure that this invoice will be processed and stored in a folder that we want. To do this, go to your inbox, go here to people, let's create a new contact, and here I'm going to say, for example, Danny Fuya, this is my name. Put the email that you are sending the emails from, info, and here you get the idea. For each contact that you're receiving emails, you have to create one contact, make sure that you are putting the right email address, and here under others, click on significant other, and here you will paste or you will type the folder where you want to store the invoices or documentation received by this user. So in my case, I'm going to put Danny Fuya. Yeah, that's it. I want to put my name. So why this field over here? It's just because I decided it, but actually you could do it with whatever field. But for the implementation of this program, of the project that you're using, you have to use always this field, significant other. So here I'm going to save. And now we can do one more test. So I'm here again with my email. I'm going to type this one. I'm going to send, hey, new invoice. And I'm going to attach the second one, the one from Framer. So I'm going to send it. So now we are here in Outlook. We have to wait again. All right, new invoice. So actually it took some time, but what happened was we received an invoice. The invoice was sent to our system. The system tried to extract the date and the number. So actually if we go to here in these attachments, in this folder, we will store the different invoices that we receive from our client. So remember that in my case, I set the folder to be Danny Fuya. And now if I open this invoice, that here, this is the invoice number and the date is 22nd September. So actually the automation has renamed the file to the date plus the number of the invoice. Actually, this could be a bit better improved because there's this small symbol, but it's quite good. Because remember that when we send the invoice, the name was Invoice Framer. And the last thing that our system does, just to make sure that our invoices are properly processed, it's to mark these emails with a tag, with a category, invoice saved. And this is also super important, especially when you are building systems that interact with humans, because you have to grant this human observability. Because otherwise, there's nothing more scary than having a system that is doing some stuff behind the scenes and you are not aware of what's actually going on. So now anytime that you want to store the invoices from a different customer, just go to contacts again, create a new contact, and put under significant other the folder where you want to store the invoices. And in this case, all these invoices will go to a folder that we will create it automatically inside this attachments folder. So with this, all the documentation that you are receiving, the invoices, will be properly stored. Now, this is just a demo, and actually you could further improve this system. Maybe you could filter out those documents that are not invoices from those that are other type of documentation, etc. You could do 1,000 things here. All right, now for those of you that are a bit more technical and want to understand how the code is structured, I will walk you through the different files. But just before we proceed, I just want to mention two caveats of this code. The first one is that the subscription that you created, remember that when we run this command over here, create subscription, it only lasts for 45 minutes. So very likely what will happen is that after 45 minutes, you will stop receiving notifications from Outlook. So you have to make sure that if you are putting the system into production or you want to properly integrate it into your business, you create a cron job that every 45 minutes, the subscription is renewed. The second thing is that this system needs the duplication logic in place. What do I mean by that? If you actually noticed during my demo, when I was explaining you about the invoices, the system was still processing the invoice again. So actually it processed the invoice twice. Why? Microsoft Azure, whenever it's notifying your system that a new email has been received, sometimes it does this twice or three times, normally twice. So what you have to do here is to implement a logic in place where you are temporarily saving the email that you have received from Outlook and make sure that you check against this temporary value whenever a new email is received, just to prevent to duplicate the invoice processing. So I've already done this in the past. Actually, if you go to my previous video about how to implement an AI SMS booking system, I've already had this logic in place using Celery. So if you have doubts about how to technically do this, you can refer to my previous video. I will leave a link in the description. I just want to mention this here for the sake of transparency, because this system is cool, but it needs a bit more robustness. Okay, so now for those of you that are more techy and want to understand what's going on with the code, just stay with me and I will explain you. So basically this is a FastAPI server. And if you go to the main PI file, here we are defining the server. We are passing some services. I will now explain each service. And here we are registering the different endpoints. So where Outlook will notify the changes, an endpoint to create a subscription, and different subscription-related endpoints. And here we are just running it. This is just the main file to structure the server. And now let's get to the different service to make sure that our system can work properly. So actually, if you go into services file, you'll see the different ones. The first one is the agent service. So this is the service that we are going to use to connect to our local LLM. And we are going to define some methods that will allow us to extract some invoice data. For example, here, we are using the OpenAI client. We are connecting to our local endpoint, and we are just using this prompt. We are telling the large language model that its job is to extract invoice information, and here we are passing the text of the PDF. All right, and here we are taking the different data and we are returning this invoice data. That the invoice data, it contains the invoice number and the invoice date. If we proceed, we go to the document service. This is the service, again, very small service. We are using Docling to pass a document like a PDF and get the markdown. And that's it. That's everything that is done in this document service. Now, if we go to the graph service, this service contains the different methods to extract information from Outlook. So we can get the user messages. A message is an email, actually. So we can get the emails of this user. We can get an email given its ID, get the email attachments, etc. So each of these different functions that you see inside these methods are just provided by this graph service client. This is a library that is already provided by Microsoft, so we have not coded. So actually, that's it. We are just abstracting some methods and doing some processing. If we proceed, we go to the subscription service file, and here we have all the different methods to create a subscription in order to make sure that Outlook notifies our system. Again, here we use a graph service that is a library provided by Microsoft, and we do some logic. For example, here we are defining the user ID that we want to listen to, that remember we placed in our M file. We can list different subscriptions. We can delete a subscription, renew a subscription. So actually this is the method I've already implemented for you. So every 45 minutes you will have to make sure that this renew subscription method is called. All right, and finally let's go to the webhook service. This service will contain all the logic that we will put into the different endpoints of the main PI file. So for example, here we have the process notification. Here we will receive the notification from Microsoft. We will process this single notification that is extracting some fields of the data that Microsoft is giving to our endpoint. And here we are trying to process different messages. All right, so here we get the message by ID, we extract some email address, we print some information, and here we have all the logic of going to the contacts folder that we have in Outlook, trying to get the folder name. So if we go here, get contact folder name, as you see here, we are trying to fetch a contact by an email, and we are trying to get this attribute called, what is this? Extract significant other. So actually this is the field that if you remember, we are placing here. So if you want to modify this field, for example, let's say that you want to, this is the spouse name, but imagine that you want to get the, I don't know, the birthday. Very likely you'll have to change this name and put here birthday. This name field, you can have a look at the Microsoft documentation and it will tell you what are the different fields that you can use here. In any case, let's go back to our webhook service. We also have this process attachment and this assign category. So for the process attachment, we are taking the file, get message attachments, and we are creating a folder. Okay, remember that the folder is the one that we are setting in the spouse name, in the significant other field, and we are storing the attachments there. And also we have one last method called assign category that, given a message ID and a category name, we are going to put this category in the email. And in the end, this is what happens when the message is received, that this category is placed in the email. Actually, if you want to change the invoice category, you can go to the config.py file and you can just modify this variable over here. Okay, and that's it. I know it was a quick introduction, but it's actually quite self-explanatory because it contains a lot of comments. And in any case, if you have more doubts about this file or you want to chat, just reach out to me and I will be happy to discuss with you. All right, and that was everything. I hope it was useful for you. And if it was, please give a like and subscribe to the video. And also, if you would like me to cover other different use cases, maybe from your businesses or things that you are interested in, just reach out and I will be happy to see what we can do. So thanks for your time and see you in the next one. Take care.